Red Pill TDS. So
Okay.
if you want to find out what Red Pill TDS means, you need to stay tuned. Hello, I'm Lisa Michaels, back in Portland for another fun and exciting conversation with two of my favorite people. Here we have James Buechel, the chairman of the Multnomah County Republicans and an esteemed attorney here in the Portland area. And then we also, of course, have our producer, Toastmaster extraordinaire, old friend, Richard Carpenter.
There you go.
There you go. And we are going to have a very interesting show tonight. Richard, it's going to be called Red Pill TDS. So
Okay.
if you want to find out what Red Pill TDS means, you need to stay tuned. Let's talk a little bit before we reveal the meaning of Red Pill TDS, James. Why don't you tell us what you think of some of the stuff that's been going on here in Portland and federally with regards to the new administration?
Well, that's a broad question. We've been following
Yeah.
this is the week of gun control protests, and so we've been rather horrified to see these mobs of young children, sometimes even elementary school children, running wild on the streets, no attention to traffic safety or anything. And what's really disturbing is there's this real concerted effort on the part of the Portland school system to align itself with anti-gun forces. The Portland School Board has just passed a resolution saying that any and all semi-automatic weapons should be outlawed. Nobody can manufacture them, own them, trade them, or use them, anything, except for the government, of course. And they're pushing this line in every school classroom. And so every school in Portland has now been turned into essentially an anti-Second Amendment lobbying firm.
It's just
and
awful.
we at the Republican Party think that's illegal.
Now, why do we have your Yale Law graduate? Why do we have the Second Amendment? Is it so that we can go hunting?
No, the Second Amendment is basically designed to preserve the distinction between free citizens and slaves. And the founders of the nation knew that throughout history, over and over again, that when people are disarmed, they become a subject people, and they didn't want that to happen here ever.
Yeah. Yes, and so, people tell me, they say, oh, well, you don't need assault weapons to go hunting. Well, they're not doing this because we want to go hunting. We're doing this to protect ourselves from a totalitarian government. As you look on any of my YouTube videos, you'll see that I have several times at various large events down at the Salem Capitol in years past discuss the 9 rules of communist revolution: divide people over controversial matters, no importance, get control of the kids, get them away from religion, get them interested in sex and entertainment and other sorts of things. This was written in 1919.
That sounds like the lesson plan at the Portland School.
It does. Well, the very last one that they have on the 9 rules of communist revolution, every one of them has been implemented, except for the last one. The last one I know by heart is cause the registration of all firearms on some pretext in order for confiscation of them and leaving the population helpless. So they cannot implement their evil plan to take over the country and destroy us all unless they disarm us first, because we have these things called guns and we can protect ourselves from a totalitarian government. So this is their last-ditch effort to make sure that they can, they can have full control. So they're doing all sorts of things to try to get the idea of gun confiscation and normalize it and vilify anybody who thinks it's okay to have a Second Amendment, which is part of the Constitution. It's really hard to get rid of it, thank the Lord. Tell us what country implemented this plan and was successful with it, James?
Well, if you go throughout history, you can start with the Old Testament and the Philistines disarming the Israelites and saying that they weren't allowed to have swords. You can look that up in the board of
Oh, wow, I didn't know it went that far back.
The book of Judges. Yeah, no, it's been, the Nazis were very much into gun control, and Australia recently had a massacre of some type where some person who was allegedly seriously mentally defective somehow managed to perform like Superman in his shooting abilities and kill a lot of people. And suddenly, just as the case here, we have we have an event, and then we have this lobby swoop in with these organized plans and national marches and very coordinated efforts, and this is the peak of that right now in Portland. And there will be a big march on Saturday. That's March 24th. They're planning another one for April 20th. And I think that there's just an infinite amount of money here flowing in to pay these people to agitate, and we are spending very large amounts of taxpayer money on this. I mean, what's the tragedy of this is that Portland has one of the shortest school years in the nation. It's 170-something days. And we've blown, more than a complete day so far of that precious instructional time for children to run around, or sometimes the parents are calling us up at the Multnomah County Republican Party, and they're telling us things like, yeah, they dragged all the kids out there, and then they came back and they said, well, it's too important to work, so they had all the children watch Kung Fu Panda 2 instead of doing lessons. I mean, so it's really, this is a school system that is very poorly performing, just like much of Oregon, very low graduation rates, very low class time, because the entire focus of the leadership seems to be on, promoting leftist goals instead of reading,
and
writing,
political
and
correctness.
Yeah.
Political correctness is a huge, huge, huge problem. That's one of the reasons I supported two candidates in the last election, both of whom were the only two candidates that I deemed to be not politically correct, and they're both working in the administration. One happened to have won, President Donald J. Trump, and the other one was the wonderfully brilliant Dr. Ben Carson. Both of them have recognized the pure evil of political correctness. And if you've ever read the book 1984, you know that this is, they called it Newspeak in 1984. Do you remember that book?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So every totalitarian government, the Nazis, the Communist Chinese, the Soviet Union, they all take your guns before they take your lives and your freedoms. So you do not want to give up your Second Amendment rights, and you've got to wake up. So now I think it's time to reveal the meaning behind the red pill TDS. And that is, red pill is going back to that very popular movie called The Matrix. At the very beginning of the Matrix movie, if you haven't seen it, the main Nemo, I think his name was, is offered either the blue pill to keep living in this reality that he was familiar with, or the red pill and learn the real story behind what's going on actually. And so we're here to red pill the TDS. Now, what's TDS? If you know of anybody, or if you happen to be afflicted with TDS, if you're afflicted with TDS, here are the symptoms. When you hear the name of our president, your blood pressure goes up. When you hear the name of our president, you start to hurl ad hominem attacks at anybody who you perceive might possibly support our president. That is called Trump Derangement Syndrome. And there's a cure for it. You need to be red pilled. You need to learn what's really going on, because both the Republicans and the Democrats are opposed to this man, because he is not taking any money. For one thing, you know a person by the fruits of what they do. He's not taking any money for being president. He's working very hard to reverse the corruption, the political correctness, and the systemic corruption that has permeated all of Washington, D.C.